Okay, I think we're in. Are we live, people? We promised Sam on Tuesday. I know it's supposed to be Friday. Sam's supposed to be here, but not today. But stay tuned this weekend because we may be popping on again, doing another live. I know Michigan is playing USC tomorrow, so we may be live for that game, or we may be live for the first half of that game. We'll see how it goes. But we may also do something on Sunday as well, too. I'm just saying, stay tuned to the feed this weekend. Subscribe if you guys haven't, and we'll be around watching the games, having a good time. And we're gonna be watching some games tonight, doing a little reaction to some Future. Shout out to Future dropping a mixtape Pluto this overnight today as well too. But I kind of forgot over the course of the week that we were gonna get the Friday night football game this week with or like a ranked Friday night football game this week with Illinois, Nebraska, both team in the 20s, and it's tied 10-10 right now. And we are starting up this live stream on some hot drama in this Nebraska-Illinois game. Raiola, and make no mistake, Raiola is looking pretty good tonight. I mean, there's obviously some nuanced stuff that he could clean up. He threw a pass over the middle earlier that was really nice. He looked off the safety, really, fit the pass into a nice spot, but also the receiver got paused by one of the defenders. And you never want to lead your receivers into danger, but threw a pass into the end zone on a deep shot, and really it looked like it was a beautiful ball. It looked like he, again, just put it perfect pass, and right as the receiver had grabbed the ball it was an over the shoulder, just dropped it in the bucket, and right as the receiver had gotten it and was bringing it into his body, the defender reaches through and just takes it away from him and intercepts it. And it was in the end zone as well, too. So it needs to, if you're the defender, you need to act quickly because, I mean, that's basically a touchdown if he just catches it and possesses it for half a second. And, again, the defender just snatched it. Perfect timing. Ruled it a touchdown on the field, but they've now reviewed it and overturned it. And Illinois has the ball. And the Illinois defense, I know, Johnny Newton, the leader in the middle, leaves for the NFL draft. And, you lose some name value there. But just in general, the Illinois defense is flying around this year. I don't know if it's better. Again, I don't know if it's better talent than last year, like if we're going to do the NFL thing. I just haven't gotten into the NFL draft boards to see where the Illinois guys are at yet. But it does look like it's a bit more active this year. And the offense as well, too. Tonight, the quarterback, what do we got? 8 for 9, 1 for 14, and a touchdown as they start this drive at 2nd and 4. So we're going to be locked into this Nebraska-Illinois game for a little bit. I know we were going to do, like I said, some reacting to the new Future album. But it's almost halftime. It's late second quarter here for Illinois, Nebraska. So we'll see where it goes. And we're also going to be making some picks. It's going to work out. Some Future and futures. I don't know if we could have workshopped a better title and come up with a better title for the pod. But, we're going to be doing some Week 3 NFL picks, too. We've got the weekend upon us. And 3rd and 6 here for Nebraska. And like I said, Raiola, some of these high-end freshmen just jumping in and playing right away. I don't know if Arch Manning is thinking 2 steps ahead by doing like a Playboy Cardi and just not releasing any music. But we got a Playboy Cardi single recently, just like we got the Arch Manning starts. And the Nebraska defense holds still. So we didn't really see much of the first quarter of this game. I don't know if the quarterback, if there was like some screens, some yards after the catch, what was going on. And I haven't really seen Illinois' offense this year in general, so I can't judge. But I went to one college game last year, and it was Illinois at Iowa in Kinnick. And I don't remember exactly the score for that game, but I want to say it was like 10 to maybe it was 17 to 10. Maybe they ended up getting to 17, but it was a low-scoring game, brutal in the first half. Eventually, they picked it up a little bit in the second and third quarter. I don't know, waving to the kids if they got inspired, but there was a little bit of scoring at some point. But back, that last year the Illinois offense was not thrilling. So to see the quarterback stats up a little bit in this game, 114 in the a quarter and a half. I don't even know if he had 114 in the game last year. And he's doing it with some efficiency as well. So they've got him in a drop back right now. And he was scrambling around. So a lot of scrambling, finding the late read afterwards. I mean, if it works, it works. You got to keep it up. But since like I said, Sam is not here today, we're going to try to do a little experimental pod, because this is one of the concepts we were batting around when we were talking about doing the live shows, was to do like a live listens, live reacts to some of the bigger albums that drop. So we'll workshop it without Sam here and see how it goes, because I don't know if the way to do it is to listen beforehand and then again, listen and then react again and, go into it with a kind of know what's going on. But for this one, I haven't listened at all. So if we just get super locked into this Illinois-Nebraska game, then unfortunately I'm just going to have to hold off this future album until afterwards. But I don't know if, is it Luke Atwater? L. Atwater? Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know if he's going to be able to beat out our guy Future for what holds our attention. But like I said, I have not listened to this album yet. I was driving around a little bit earlier today. Listen, there was quite a few albums that dropped. Let me pull up here and see all the albums that ended up dropping just today. But we got like a Blue in Exile album, shout out. We'll pull up the name of that one too as well too, because I forget exactly what it was. But Blue in Exile reunited again for another drop. We also got a Little Tekka album, which I'd be interested to hear Sam's thoughts on when for the next stream, if we end up getting to it this weekend, which I'm sure he's going to listen to it as soon as possible. Oh, do we got a PI on the Nebraska? Did they go for it? Oh, maybe it wasn't third down. Did I misread the down? Or maybe they went for it while I wasn't looking. What happened? IT, give us a recap. Illinois still has the ball. It is third down now, though. It's 3rd and 8. And they're, closing in on field goal range. But we know Lil Tekka has become one of Sam's go-to listens. And he dropped, what was the name of his album the last album? Tech? He dropped that in 2023. And Sam called it his, did he say it was better than Heroes and Villains? I don't know if he said it was better. I think he might have said it was his favorite listen, like his favorite album to listen to start to finish since Heroes and Villains. And he mentioned maybe he said it was his favorite listen since Heroes and Villains and better than Meek Mill Championships album. We'll have to go check the tapes. But he was really comparing it to some high-level, some high-level artists and some high-level projects. I mean, Championships and Heroes and Villains, some of the best albums of the decades. But, yeah, we got the Blue in Exile, Love, The Ominous World, and then Future, Mixtape, Pluto, Lil Tekka with Plan A, and then The Alchemist as well, too. That was the other one I was thinking of. The Alchemist dropped an album, The Genuine Articulate. A little MC Light with 101. Also, Lil Xan and Lil Peep all dropping albums on the same. What a stacked night for the hip hop world. But I guess the main focus for today will be Mixtape Pluto by Future. But still 10-10 for Illinois, Nebraska. We'll see what they end up doing here. There was a penalty. We have the volume turned down too low. We didn't see what the signals were. I didn't. IT. What did the hand say that the penalty was? But we are in a new cycle now for the Grammys, like we mentioned with the window closing earlier. So I don't know. Is Lil Tekka early album of the year contender for the new cycle? Is it better than the new LL Cool J album? Slide in the chat. What do you guys think? Did anybody listen to the new LL Cool J album that dropped? Okay, it says on Wikipedia that it debuted at number 50 on the Billboard 200. So, there are some streams. The Eminem song. Him and LL Cool J dropping bars back and forth. Can't go wrong there. Always going to be a banger. But once we get to half, let's double check the time once we get out of this timeout. And then if we're close to halftime, we'll just wait to halftime. And then we'll get into the album reaction and start doing the picks. If we have a little bit to go, we'll just go ahead and get into it. Okay, 3 minutes left, which is, of course, way longer. But it's not the NBA, so maybe there won't be as much replay. Can we get like a... We need like a drum... Ba-da-ba. Or like a laugh track? Like a sitcom laugh track? You know, people always hate on the sitcom laugh tracks. And, I mean, you know, you wouldn't want it in every show, but for some of the shows that it's in, it's not bad. Oh, but anyways, I think we were talking about the Lil Tecca album that dropped, which I did give a full listen to earlier today, and I was pretty impressed. And I don't know, Lil Tecca for me is not one of the guys that's in my rotation a lot. Like I said, Sam is much definitely gives him much more listens, but you know, he has the song with Juice, of course, is a big Juice guy. Pause. That's a song that was definitely in the rotation a lot when it first dropped. And, you know, I was listening to it again today just to go back and listen to some of his old stuff. And, of course, it's still a banger. But I was surprised how... I don't know if melodic is the correct term for this album, but it's definitely definitely more melodic than not. And, again, you know, comparing it to something like Heroes and Villains and Championships. I mean, of course, those albums have their moments. You can get a full listening experience. You get something like 24/7 on Champions is, you know, a little bit more of a softer track. But our stream's cutting in and out right now. Our stream? Are we giving ourselves away? It's a Fox game. Fox doesn't really have like a... You know, because CBS, you can watch the college football games on Paramount Plus. NBC, you're watching them on Peacock. On ESPN, you're watching them on... Well, ESPN is on a lot of, like, you know, you're going to get your YouTube TV, your Sling TV, but also, you know, ESPN Plus as well. The ESPN app, you can just log in and watch it on the ESPN app, but I guess the Fox Sports app, but then you have to have, like, a cable provider to log into Fox Sports. At least if... Like, you know, when I was checking last time. I don't know if that's still current. Is Fox Sports updated in the streaming game? Oh, maybe we're the ones slacking. Maybe we just need to get the right streaming package. IT, check our credit card and see if we have the Fox Sports on our Sling TV. If not, add it on. But this stream keeps cutting out too much. If it cuts out one more time, we're just going straight to the view. Okay, I don't have to argue with it. I'm down. Let's get into it. Mixtape Pluto by Future. And I didn't really listen to any of the stuff that he teased. Is all, you know, he didn't really drop any singles for this on streaming anyways. But again, I know some stuff was teased, some stuff was leaked. I just am going to go in with fresh ears. Of course, we're going to start from the beginning. Do we make a pick before or after the first song? Do we just go pick for song? I think it might actually work out kind of perfect. There's 17 songs in this Mixtape Pluto album. What do we got? 15 games this weekend between Sunday and Monday. A doubleheader on Monday night. I don't know why it's on week 2 this week. Usually that's a week 1, you know, welcome to the NFL special. We get the doubleheader on Monday night. But this week, week 2 is when they've decided to do it. Why not just let the Manning cast call one of the games in full as well, too? Is that what they're doing? I don't know who the second team is. But we'll find out. That's always a nice surprise for football fans, is to find out who's going to be the second team for that Monday night game. I don't know if we get odds. We know it's not going to be Woj, R.I.P. Woj. Not because he's on the NBA side of the coverage, but because he's now working for a basketball team no longer covering basketball. I mean, obviously, being in that's the competitive sphere that way is, I think, something that I don't want to say every sports fan would desire, but 90, 98, 99, almost everybody would want to work for, and just be in a competitive capacity in sports in some way. But let's make a pick and then we'll react to the first song, because we've got the picks here ranked in terms of, typically we just draft them back and forth, me and Sam, but we've got them ranked in terms of importance. So unfortunately, unlike a good album, this one will not have a strong outro. This album, if this picks was an album, it would just consistently get worse and worse. But first game of the weekend, I would go, most important for the teams that are playing in the game, obviously. But the most important game of week 3 of the NFL season is doing the doubleheader on week 3 instead of week 2. But the most important game, I'm going Cowboys over Ravens. I think, obviously the Ravens being 0-2. Let's pull up here and double check and see all of the 0-2 teams. I would assume they're the most desperate 0-2 team. Definitely the most surprising, definitely the most talented quarterback for an 0-2 team. Again, I don't know if I'm leaving. Well, I guess Stafford at 0-2, but we'll get to the Rams, and they're kind of decimated with injury at this point. So nobody can, well, I guess it's not totally blameless, especially with some of the stuff that happened in that Arizona game, but I don't think it's as shocking as Baltimore. But oh man, right now on Tankathon, the Colts have the number 2 overall pick. So yeah, it's a strength of schedule. Oh geez, strength of schedule. The Colts are 0-2. You've got Cincinnati, of course, at 0-2, and losing to the Patriots, of course, is bringing down that strength of schedule. But is this like a strength of schedule? Oh, I think on Tankathon it might be a combined strength of schedule. So, there's a little weird thing here with everybody winning 2 games because, they played the Chiefs as well, which, I mean, if the Bengals were 1-1 going into week 3, that's not super, super shocking. I think we all would have expected that. But New York, Carolina, Denver, Tennessee, again, those teams are all, I think, fighting for top 10 picks, what we thought going into the year. Jacksonville and Indy, the AFC South being the worst division was not on my bingo card at all, especially after week 1. And I mean, you heard us week 1 when we talked about the Colts going toe-to-toe with the Texans and the Texans potentially being the second best team in the AFC, and then just going into Lambeau and completely laying an egg. And again, right now in Tankathon, I know, again, the strength of schedule thing is going to be messed up, but Cincinnati has the number 1 overall pick. Joe Burrow, is it time to move on? Quinn Ewers for Joe Burrow? Do they just make the move now? But Cincinnati at 1, and then the Colts, the Titans, and the Jags are 2, 3, and 4. So 3 of the 4 NFC South teams are 3 of the top 4 picks in the NFL draft. Houston, of course, carrying the division right now. They are the 26th pick, of course, up near the top of the league. They are the 3rd AFC team right now. The Chargers over the Chiefs in the division. Again, both 2-0. Some strength of schedule stuff in play as well there. But again, with as desperate as the Ravens are going to be to try to get a win, but also like we talked about kind of after that week 1 game, I know the offensive line, there's some of that stuff there and some of the weapon stuff. Everybody, just when is likely going to become an actual part of the offense? It seems like when they're going toe-to-toe with Kansas City in these games, it's likely is having big performances. And then against these other games where, maybe they're coming up short when they didn't, it's like, where was, you guys getting likely involved? But Dallas as well, too. at 1-1. I guess, the Ravens hope to be 1-2. Dallas doesn't want to be 1-2. But Philly as well, we'll get to the Philly Saints game. It's not like Philly's a lock to just go up a game on Dallas. So maybe there's a little leeway there. And again, right now, Pittsburgh, it's not like we got to just disrespect Pittsburgh's 2-0 start. I get the offense and Fields may not have the pedigree that we, when you're projecting out for the rest of the season, that we would think just yet. But with that defense, I mean, they're going to be competitive all year, assuming they stay healthy. So obviously at 0-2, the Ravens need to get back in the mix, and they're going to be desperate for a win. But if I'm not mistaken, they're going to be going on the road this week. Yeah, I've got Zay Flowers on my fantasy team at Dallas. I don't know why I pulled up my fantasy team to look at the schedule, but that's what happened. Zay Flowers at Dallas, and I know they got wiped by the Saints last week, but I think that was kind of just a snowball game. And between Parsons, between Prescott, and CeeDee Lamb, CeeDee Lamb still made an incredible touchdown play, and I think Parsons will be back trying to get revenge for just, again, a poor overall team performance last week. And right now the Saints are just the number one team in the league in all stats and all grades. And just every, every ranking metric that you look at, the Saints are crushing everybody. So maybe that's just totally legit. Maybe the Cowboys will just be one of many teams this year to get just absolutely decimated by the Saints. But I think the Cowboys might beat the Ravens. Again, the Ravens are going to be too desperate, but I'm not feeling good about it. And Harbaugh at 0-3 is going to be in an interesting spot because I don't know if Harbaugh is, obviously he's not one bad season away from anything dramatic, especially the Ravens being such a stable organization, and I just doesn't seem like a team that would be desperate to make a move in general. It seems like they would be a team to wait too long instead of too soon. But then again, they're a smart organization. If they see something wrong, maybe they're just like, hey, we got to cut bait before it's too late. So, I know we've had two Harbaughs in the league before, and they were both in the Super Bowl. Both, top coaches in the league, top notch. Their teams, the most successful teams in the league. In the past, there was room for two Harbaughs, but maybe in 2024, that's not the case anymore. Maybe there's only room for one Harbaugh. Maybe Jim Harbaugh's personality, it's just too big at this point, and he's overtaken John Harbaugh's space. I don't know what's happened, but it seems like this year, just the whole Ravens. And again, as a non-football guy, you just don't want to say the coaching seems off, but something is not quite right to start the season. So I guess you kind of have to pick the Ravens to beat the Cowboys. I guess the Ravens aren't going to be 0-3, but going into Dallas again, Dak, I still trust this team as a regular season team. I thought week 1 they showed just a certain level of competence, and again, Dak, it's not the it's not the playoffs. We can still trust the man in week 3. I think he's capable of having some good performances at home. So maybe Lamar in the Dome, that'll be fun. Has Lamar ever played a game in Dallas before? Has Lamar even ever played Dallas? It's like the Michigan-Texas matchup last week. Historic first time stuff. That would seem crazy that, one of the most marketable players in one of the only, multi-league MVPs in NFL history wouldn't have had a matchup against the league's most marquee team. It seems like that would be a matchup you'd want to sell on TV at some point, especially now with the 17th game, and you get to just add another random game into the mix. Let's see how many matchups he's had against Dallas in his career. He's only played Dallas one time. It was in 2020. It was home, so it was in Baltimore. They won 34-17. He was 12 of 17 for 107 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Classic Lamar, creating with his legs. 94 rush yards. 1 touchdown on 13 carries. But 100, no, I get the reason he had 107 pass yards because everybody was running the ball like crazy. Gus Edwards, 7 carries for 101 yards. And J.K. Dobbins, 11 carries for 71 yards and 1 touchdown. Saving my fantasy team, but unfortunately, we're just not going to give the man any credit because of the Ohio State background, at least at this point. Maybe if he keeps carrying for a couple more weeks, we'll just have no choice. But did Dak play in this game? Dak wasn't even out there, so this was the Dak injured year. We got Andy Dalton, complete opposite of Lamar Jackson, just throwing all the passes, 48 attempts. Couldn't even get to 300 yards. We'll see how he does in the Bryce Young spot for the Panthers this week, but should we just get to the album? This is going to be a 3-hour stream if we don't speed this up. I don't know if we're going to be able to react to all these songs. We'll see how it goes. Maybe do we just like leave it on in the background while we talk about this? Maybe that's the move. Can you guys hear it at all too? I also don't want, obviously we don't want YouTube to take down the stream, but we're not going to play it on the stream. We're just going to play it for us. And typically the mic does a good job of just cutting out background noise in general. It can pick it up a little bit. I feel like we might have to be on watch for the YouTube bots. IT, can we get some defenses up for the YouTube copyright bots? We don't want to get taken down. Army, stand strong. But we'll power through and keep going with the picks. Let's check the odds real quick. If the odds are always going to be the determining factor for where to go. And this was one of the games, obviously, where it's a little tougher to choose. If we were drafting, yeah, we're a gutsy drafter. We would have gone for a tough game first. We've got, and right away, I mean, classic future. I really do have high hopes for this because, well, here, real quick, the line for this game. Oh, I accidentally scrolled too far. I'm into week 4. Ravens minus 1.5. So the Ravens favored basically in Dallas. So we've got the Dallas still kind of favored. Well, they're plus. I guess they're not favored on the money line, but the Ravens are favored on the spread. FanDuel, figure out your odds. But we got the Ravens at minus 1.5. I think we're definitely picking the Cowboys. That's the Cowboys are at home. I feel like 2.5 wouldn't be the craziest thing, especially again the Ravens are 0-2, and you could just say that the Saints might actually be good. The Raiders might be feisty at best this year. Gardner Minshew probably not going to be a playoff team, but Derek Carr, if he had a late career resurgence in a good year, again I'm not. I would be a guy that would have. Was ready to see Spencer Rattler play. I have a couple of Spencer Rattler shares, so I need my stock to go up. I need the man to start some games. But Derek Carr, the man has been making some quick decisions through the first couple of weeks. And that game, I feel like if we're ranking games in terms of importance, we could probably put that one next, but I don't know if we can go back-to-back NFC. Pause. So we'll mix it up a little bit. And for the second game, we've got Lions versus Cardinals. And I mean, I really, really want to pick the Cardinals. Let's look at the money, not the money line, but let's see where the public is going, because this could be one where people are really kind of liking Atlanta. Right now, 59% of the money is on Arizona, and 55% of the bets are on Arizona as well too. So the public is favoring Arizona. They're the trendy team right now. And we were saying before the season started that, with as high as these players that on the offense were getting drafted in fantasy, that maybe we had to reconsider the upside of the team. And it's not just the weapons that surround Kyler Murray. Like, what are Kyler Murray's MVP odds? Because I don't know if he's, the Cardinals, you're going to have to get to, they might be a 10-win team this year, but, probably going to have to be like a 1 or a 2 seed, especially with the way the Chiefs look. And if Taylor Swift's going to be at all the games and they're just going to get all the calls, then, it's going to be hard to not give Mahomes and an undefeated Chiefs the MVP. Where is the awards and feature fusions? Here we go. Season awards. Kyler Murray, 28-1, currently behind Joe Burrow. Again, the Bengals 0-2, currently behind Brock Purdy at 20-1, Rodgers 16-1, Jalen Hurts at 12-1. Are we live right now? Can we mute this and just bet the Kyler Murray odds? This is crazy, but Herbert 30-1. Yeah, after Murray, we go Herbert, Mayfield, Derek Carr, Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, Stafford, Love, Geno. Like, that's the Kyler Murray is not the cutoff, I think, for MVP candidates, at least not for the start for this season. And I get he's not like, are we live again? But he's not Deshaun Watson in a lot of ways. Nobody is. But just seeing a guy not play so long because of injury and just not get on the field consistently for several seasons is like, what level is he going to get back to? But Kyler Murray is at the peak of his powers in terms of, he's just entering his prime in terms of age. And it feels like, and that's the other part as well, too, as missing time is with the age that he's at, again, entering these peak years, you don't want to just see him return and be the same player that he was when he was there. And again, and you do, obviously, because Kyler Murray was a really good player when he was there. But if he's on the field consistently, he's hopefully getting better. So even while he's injured, you're like, hopefully, he's able to get back, be healthy, be the same. But also, can we get whatever, hopefully, version of Kyler that he would have been at this stage in his career? And Kyler does look better. I would need to go back and watch some of the highlights from that Pro Bowl season, because he was like low-key pretty fantastic that year. I know I was looking at some of the advanced stats from that season, and he was kind of one of the higher rated quarterbacks from that year. I mean, obviously as a Pro Bowl guy, but 100 quarterback rating. Pro Football Reference has a approximate value stat, and I remember him being like, I want to say 3 or 4. I'd have to go back and sort it and double check. I'm pretty sure he was in the top 5 though for that season. Again, the 100 quarterback rating too. I didn't remember that off top as well. But he's at 122.9 this year, not leading the league because, again, as we mentioned on Tuesday, we've got a tight race at the top between Derek Carr and Baker Mayfield for best quarterback in the league. But again, 11 games played in 2022, 8 games played in 2023, and then 14 games played in that 2021 season. So yeah, if you go per game as well too on that approximate value for that year, he was really killing it. And then 2020 was the last time he played 16 games. Played 16 games his first 2 years in the league. So we'd have to get IT to double check the release date on that new Call of Duty. We'll see when Sam's back on the stream. We'll ask him because Sam is our video game correspondent. But maybe that is the week to trade Kyler Murray in your fantasy league and just sell high. But as of right now, it does look like Kyler Murray is a much better player. And again, he has much better weapons as well, too, especially, you're bringing in Marvin Harrison Jr., but also Trey McBride. When he was entering the draft, he wasn't, he was no Brock Bowers, but he was still the number 1 tight end drafted, I believe, from that class. Maybe Kincaid, Musgrave. I believe he was in that mix of guys, but he was also, but that whole class was was Dawson Knox, and I don't remember who was all in that class, but that whole class felt like you could have kind of gone in any direction with who you liked at tight end, what you needed for your team. And I think as a pass catcher, a lot of people recognized McBride probably was the best one. The mix, Connor still seems like... I'm really kicking myself for not getting James Conner in fantasy this year. That's really hurting, especially where he was going to get a pause, where he was going in drafts, middle of the round. And I didn't take him over Mostert, but I had them in similar spots on my board. I had Mostert, James Conner, and Pollard. The order I had was Conner, Pollard, and Mostert. And in my pre-draft planning, it was we're going to target James Conner in the 6th or Anthony Richardson in the 6th. And obviously, Anthony Richardson was the priority, and he was there in the 6th round. And we stuck to our strategy, and we took him. But we probably could have gotten risky and drafted Conner in the 2nd and then waited. And we were in the middle of the draft, waited in that turn, and then probably gotten Anthony Richardson in the 7th. Because with... not that you guys want to hear about a fantasy draft, but with the way the QBs were falling on the board and just with the general vibe in the friend group of Anthony Richardson, I think I could have gotten him a little bit later. Could have snuck Conner in there, but took Richardson that round, and then Conner ended up going later in the 6th. And then in the 7th, I took Mostert, and I feel bad for thinking that Mostert was going to produce as good as Conner, because that's not looking like it's going to happen. But I also was able to snag Pollard a round later. Again, like some GMs in real life, you go, they ended up getting the right guy. They didn't get him in the right order. Pollard ended up being the right pick of the 2 running backs. And again, like I said, Dobbins undrafted was the best running back I have so far, besides Breece Hall. Shout out with a great Thursday night game and a great start to the week. Shout out to Champ Quinn. It's not looking good after the Thursday night game. It was a Breece Hall versus Ramondre Stevenson running back showdown to start off the week. And Ramondre had a third of a point in Sleeper. I don't know what he did in the other leagues. I don't know if he got to a full point and, what your PPR scoring was. But in our league, he got a third of a point. And Breece Hall was, 18, 20 points, whatever. But it's going to be a close game. He's got Stroud. I have Richardson. He's got Gibbs, It's going to be a tough battle. The Champ Quinn's always able to rally the troops and get his team together. And there was a new update on Sleeper as well, too. Drop in the chat if you guys know what this Sleeper update is, where you can sub in the bench guy for the starter if the bench guy hasn't played yet, but the starter has already played. And I was going through our league settings to see if that was just in the league settings as turned on yes, and if it's in there as an option, then obviously it could be turned on no. And I was contemplating bringing this up for a vote in the group chat, but I didn't see anything. I'm checking again now. Oh, here we go. Player auto subs. Okay, we've got something. Should we allow this? Should we bring this up in the group chat? Slide in our DMs at Rem and Sam on Instagram if I should bring this up in the group chat as something that at least we should discuss. Because I kind of... Am I just an old school guy? Do I just want to stick to old school fantasy? Set your lineup and stick with it? But I know part of the reason that Sleeper was, I believe, becoming so popular was the best ball stuff. And the best ball stuff is just in general... becoming a more prevalent way to play fantasy. So that's kind of, best ball is just like it does that for you, and this can kind of give you that opportunity. And again, your sub could do worse than the starter that was already in there. But right now, the champ has Ramondre Stevenson with a third of a point, and I kind of want to keep it that way. I don't want him to sub anybody out. And we should, IT, cut this whole part out, because if he hears this, could he try getting sneaky? He's got Montgomery sitting on his bench. He could just go with the Lions stack against the Cardinals. Again, I guess this all full circle. We're bringing it around to the Lions-Cardinals pick. He could just go, and I mean, my guess is David Montgomery is going to have more than a third of a point over Ramondre Stevenson. And going into the week, our matchup was close. The projections were close, but now they started to pull away. But this, it does feel like kind of just a dramatic shift for Sleeper to just throw in there and just sneak in, especially, you know, week 3, the leagues are already going. What are we doing, sleeper? Wait a little bit. But, well, I guess don't wait a little bit. Maybe do that earlier. Think of that a little bit sooner, or, you know, just wait till after the season and give it to us in 2025, boss. But, you know, early enough, we'll be able to deal with it. And I'm going to be too locked into following these parlays to try to sub in anybody. And make no mistakes, my bench is not getting anybody subbed in anyways. But I think we're going to go Lions over the Cardinals for this one. But I feel like we're going opposite of what we want to pick, and that's probably going to end up backfiring. We're just going to end up getting all these picks wrong. But the Lions, again, they're going to be on revenge after last week. The Cardinals looked a little too good last week, and I think a lot of the big plays that they were able to get, and you know, not to take away from their performance, Marvin Harrison Jr. looked great, but a lot of the big plays that he did get, there was some breakdown in coverage where he's just running wide open down the field. And, you know, some of that breakdown probably could be attributed to Kyler Murray as well, too, with the scrambling and just him shifting the defense, running out of the pocket. And again, to credit Marvin Harrison Jr., like that first touchdown he had in the back of the end zone. I mean, that's the kind of touchdown where when you're trying to like describe Marvin Harrison, like why is he the best receiver? And especially like in the draft, and you're comparing him to guys like, you know, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, where, you know, both those guys are faster. You know, Malik Neighbors, you can just go through all these attributes and go, well, maybe Marvin Harrison is not the best in any of these individual like physical attributes, but like the body control of a receiver like that, and just in the back of the end zone, the way he was just able to stop and corral the ball as the same time as the defender is, you know, colliding is. I mean, you know, we're talking about, people would say he's acting like a 10-year vet, but, you know, there's 10-year vets that aren't even that good to make that good of a play. So he's just being an incredible receiver right away in week 2. And, you know, averaging 70 yards a game, not bad either to start your career. Hopefully that'll go up a little bit. But a really interesting test to see if the Cardinals are, I think they're going to, obviously they're a legit like playoff team, but again, with the way Kyler Murray's playing, if he's going to be like a top 7 quarterback in the league this year, we'll whisper it because the injuries, we don't want to jinx it. But if he's going to be in the Call of Duty, we don't know how he's going to be, you know, after mid-October. But if he's going to be in the top 7, then are they going to be in the mix for, could they be one of the two teams in the NFC Championship game near the end of the year? Obviously, the defense was a bigger question mark than the offense going into the year. And still some of the, like I was going through Pro Football Focus, some of the individual grades on some of the defenders aren't great. But like Zaven Collins has been flying around this year. I've really liked what I've seen from him. Obviously, you know, you still get Buda Baker there. And we're excited about Buda Baker. We love Buda Baker. We shouldn't shrug off one of the better safeties in the league. But again, I think, you know, it's the coordinator loss was huge for the Eagles. We know from the Steichen side on offense and with Hurts. But I don't know if Gannon is getting the respect for the way that Eagles defense has looked since he's left. And they've lost, you know, there's been some changeover with the guys and with the personnel on that team. But it does seem like the man is able to coach up a defense to overperform. And this Cardinals defense is flying around right now. Right now, again, on PFF, am I going to say it right? Kaiser White, the linebacker for the Cardinals, number 7. They have him graded out as the worst linebacker in the league, and I thought I saw the man flying around making some plays. Shout out to, I don't bring that up to diss him. Shout out Kaiser White. Again, I have your back, buddy. I personally don't think you're the worst linebacker in the league. I kind of think the Cardinals defense has looked pretty feisty, so I think they're going to hang, and I think maybe the reason the public might be a little bit on the Cardinals because that line was a little bit. Oh no, it was 3. I thought it was up to 5, but yeah, Lions +3 on the road though. 2.5 might be a little rich for the Cardinals after 2 games, and again, against the Rams team, that was injured. That was maybe not necessarily having the best communication in the secondary. But again, the Bills, I think the Bills have looked like one of the better teams in the league, and they had a really good first half against them in that week 1. So the Cardinals, I don't know if you can bet teams to play in the NFC Championship game, but if FanDuel puts that on there, keep an eye on what those Cardinals odds would be. But we'll pick it up and move it through the picks. And make no mistake, the Future album right now is a great soundtrack to make picks to. Maybe we'll slow it down so we can just listen to this one again twice. Just do a double listen through. And I know that the man has dropped some, I guess, I don't know, because you get the public reception and the critical reception. Like, I Never Liked You got nominated for a Grammy. So, like, obviously the critics loved it. Wait For You was a, super successful song, won the Grammy for the melodic rap category, if I'm not mistaken. I know it was nominated, but I'm pretty sure it won as well, too, because I'm pretty sure that ATL Jacob, well, I remember him accepting the Grammy for that. So that's what I remember. But I don't know if the fan reception on I Never Liked You was, I don't know what the replay value is for this album as a whole. Again, a couple great songs off of this. And We Don't Trust You, like we did the Grammy possible nominations pod after the window closed. We Don't Trust You, I think, is a borderline. I don't want to call it a lock because of the album quality. I think there's a handful of albums that you go, oh yeah, this is just a better album. But obviously being arguably the biggest album of the year, it's biggest newer album of the year. Shout out Travis Scott with the Days Before Rodeo mixtape. Maybe Days After Rodeo is an album we'll get in the future. But the Days Before Rodeo mixtape was actually the biggest album of the year so far. But again, just in terms of where would you rank, like even going back to 2020, the Pluto, Baby Pluto collab album with Lil Uzi Vert, and then High on Life. High on Life's pretty good as well too. It's got a Travis Scott feature. Is not bad, but it's more than not bad. It's really good. But if you're gonna rank like what are the best Future albums, it's gonna be that 2015, 2016, 2017 run that Future was doing. But again, just from like a consistency start to finish album, once we actually are able to lock in and listen to this one, we'll be able to give a a more accurate review. But just kind of vibing to it in the background right now. It's just got a nice, consistent, concise track list so far. And again, I think hopefully the replay value on this one is back in the mix as like a high replay value Future album than what we've got in the past. Kind of like Her Loss with Drake, where you've got, you get Certified Lover Boy, Honestly Nevermind, For All the Dogs, and it's like, I don't know how often people are necessarily going start to finish with all those albums. Pause. Maybe Certified Lover Boy. Are you guys running Certified Lover Boy start to finish? Pause again. I just pulled up the track list. We'll have to give this one a rerun. I have to go back through the second half of this album and see what's up again. But Her Loss, if you're gonna go and just play a whole album, that's gonna be the newer Drake album. Like I think Mixtape Pluto might be in the mix. But I think We Don't Trust You as well too. I think this one might age a little bit better with some of these songs than it's just like are these like the all-time great Future songs. I think this is probably a little bit more solid, and it's a little, maybe a couple tracks too long, but every album is these days, so can't be mad at that. But the next pick, the next game, as we pick up the pace here. Oh, we got to get this is the track list for the Future album, not the picks for the week. Oh yeah, we'll just go ahead and go Eagles over Saints. And again, like, are the Ravens going to be 0-3 and the Saints going to be 3-0? Or is the matrix broken? Like, did the simulation get the records wrong when they did the input for this year? I don't know what's going on, but are the Saints going to be the only undefeated team in the NFC if this holds up? So we've got, we'll get to the Seattle game against, who are they playing? They're playing the Dolphins. That's right. I was just thinking injured quarterback, RIP Tua. They're playing the Dolphins. Minnesota is playing the Texans, and Tampa Bay is playing the Broncos. So maybe spoiler alert, but Seattle and Tampa are looking pretty good for going to 3-0. Minnesota, we'll get to that one. So I guess New Orleans wouldn't just be a lock to be right on top after this game. But another, a turning point game for the potential infrastructure, like with the Ravens. If the Eagles go down in this one, especially with the way the Monday night game wrapped up, the Sirianni stuff is going to start getting really feisty. And who do we've got for coaches? I guess McCarthy's going to be safe this year, and Dan Quinn's going to be safe. It's his first year in the Commanders. But Sirianni and Dable, the NFC East there may be some job openings in the NFC East in a couple of weeks. Hopefully not for Dayball. And I still have some Sirianni stock as well too. I'm not totally. I know we'll have to pull up the Eagles Reddit at some point and see what the Eagles fans are saying about Sirianni, because if the Eagles fans are out, then that's a telling thing. Obviously they're locked in, watch him every week. But I thought at least he made an effort to go out and upgrade the coordinator position and try to get support. He got Kellen Moore, got Vic Fangio, two highly regarded guys in the league. And I think especially the guys that were available, Slowick and Ben Johnson ended up staying for their teams. But the people are saying Sirianni's not a good coach, so there we go. Maybe we're out on Sirianni, and maybe the Sirianni versus Dennis Allen is now in play. Who would have thought that Sirianni would potentially not? We get to week 8 and Dennis Allen would be the coach of a team and not Sirianni. Would not have guessed that going into the season. But Dennis Allen has a chance to not help Sirianni's case this week. And if the Eagles fans are out on Sirianni, guess what? The Rem and Sam pod's out on Sirianni. We're picking the Saints to go 3-0, baby. I'm switching it up. IT, change the doc. Put the Saints in the win column. We'll go Texans over Vikings for the next game. And I know Sam's gonna get on here Sunday and we'll see what happens if we're on here before or after the game. But if we're on here before, he's gonna start bragging about Sam Darnold and talk about his Sam Darnold stock, and maybe he has the right to, but Sam Darnold still made a couple of plays in that game where you're like, okay, you're throwing it right to. I mean, he did throw it right to Fred Warner, and Fred Warner picked it off, but he had another pass. I was rewatching some of that game earlier today. He had another pass where, and maybe it's just Fred Warner. Fred Warner, of course, best linebacker in the league, was all over the place. So no Fred Warner in this game. Maybe just maybe no picks for Sam Darnold, but also C.J. Stroud on the other side. And I know the Texans only got to 16 last week against the Bears defense, but I do think that Bears defense is really good. And the Texans offense is still, I don't know if it's the scariest offense in the league, but Stroud and those receivers, and with the way Mixon has looked, and maybe that's just how bad the Colts rush defense was and is, looking to play out over the course of this year. But is this a home game for the Vikings? The Vikings, a nice little home stretch here to start the season. They were at home last week. And to get the Niners and the Texans at home is kind of crazy. Texans only -1.5. People are out on the Texans. The public is not out on the Texans. 58% of the money is on Houston. But somebody show this line to the team, because I'd feel disrespected if I thought that Sam Darnold was only 1.5 points worse than C.J. Stroud. I guess, at home, Maybe that's a little bit more disrespectful to the Vikings. But regardless, we're picking the future MVP, CJ Stroud. Niners versus Rams. I put this one in here for importance. Obviously, again, the Rams are down bad right now, especially with the receivers. Is Kupp definitely out for, I guess, yeah, Kupp is definitely out because they were talking about him for IR, and they were saying that he's going to miss. Was it significant time? Was significant time the words? Exceptional amount of time? I don't remember the exact, way they used to describe it, but I do remember now that Cooper Kupp is down for the count. So, again, the Rams aren't going to be expected to do a lot, but still having Stafford on the ticking clock and McVay with Amazon always making eyes at him, you're going to be wanting to win as competitively as, as much as possible. And 0-3 for the Rams and the Ravens would be brutal, just in general. Brutal for the league as well, too, to have your MVP and have Sean McVay potentially on the verge of having losing seasons and packing it up early at the end. But Chiefs over Falcons. We're picking the Niners, by the way. They'll go ahead and get back on track. Though, you never can count out McVay, and they'll be more competitive this week than they were against the Cardinals. Hopefully, because they're coach up some of those secondary mishaps. But Niners, Purdy, Jordan Mason, it's going to be too much to overcome. Chiefs over Falcons. I saw a thing on the TV at work today, just the TV over the bar, the bar at work, that I think it was the Nick Wright show on Fox. Shout out. But they were, just the headline on the TV was like, are the Chiefs on upset alert this week? Maybe it was Cowherd. One of the Fox shows was talking about if the Chiefs are on upset alert. The short answer is no. I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to beat Pat Mahomes this week. And again, I think the Falcons getting pressure on the Eagles the way that they did and kind of mixing up on Jalen Hurts was a little bit, maybe a little, the Falcons pass rush was not something that we were necessarily counting on this year. But again, I think maybe as we're starting to learn now with the way Hurts is reading protections, maybe that didn't help. But maybe just bad day for the Eagles O-line as well, too. So I don't know if the Falcons are going to rattle Mahomes. I don't know if Kirk Cousins was necessarily brilliant in that game against the Eagles as well, too. So I feel pretty confident about picking the Chiefs. And were they in the 5.5 range? What is this one that's on for Future right now? We've got... Oh, I just queued up something and We Don't Trust You. I switched albums on accident. We got to get back to Mixtape Pluto. I think we were on Surfing a Tsunami. And drop in the chat, too, if any of these are songs that he had released before. Again, I stayed away and just was going in without knowing anything. But kind of like a movie. No trailers. Read no interviews. No press. Future. I gotta say, when Charlemagne was talking in the clip that they ended up cutting out for the second album, We Still Don't Trust You, and he was saying, it's not a big 3, it's a big 4. Future put, and then obviously, gotta respect Future. There's no problem with putting him in the big 4, but if I remember correctly, did he say at one point that if it is a big 3, you gotta take Cole out and put Future in? Check the tapes. I don't know if he said that exactly, but I feel like he might have, because I've been holding it against him ever since. And again, I feel like if you start doing a numbers case, whatever, you may, I'm not saying you're totally wrong, but I mean, come on. If anything, it's just a big 4, right? I think this album is going to get played quite a bit, but next game, are we halfway through yet? I don't know. Are we only gonna do the important games? We'll see how far we get. Oh no, we're getting down to the end, because the last couple of games I think are not necessarily games that need to be thoroughly discussed, but Colts versus Bears is an important game. And Dare I say, people, is this the most important game this week in terms of the future of the league? No, obviously, probably a little extreme, but Anthony Richardson and Caleb Williams, both needing to get a win this year. Unfortunately, Anthony Richardson was not able to get one against Malik Willis. So if you think, well, if he can't beat Malik Willis, how does he beat Caleb Williams? I'm fair, but again, week 3, and even both these teams being 0-3 wouldn't be disastrous. I mean, the Colts, I think maybe there's some, I don't even know if they're necessarily lofty. I think maybe there's some definite goals of being a playoff team this year, but especially with the way the run defense has looked. And again, Richardson only played like 150 snaps last year. Like, the man played 2.5 games. He's essentially a rookie. It'd be hard to ask any rookie quarterback to make up playoffs. And then you compound that with the fact that the man only played 13 games in college. The man's played like 15 games of football in the past 5 years. He might need a little bit of time before he starts making a playoff run. But regardless, there were still hopes that they were going to be a competitive team. And same with the Bears. There's some sneaky, hey, are the Bears, not even sneaky, we were saying it, are the Bears going to be in the playoff mix? And, at 0-2, is that totally out the window for either of these teams? Maybe for the Colts it is. Maybe for the Bears, they can go on a run, especially a little later in the year as the schedule eases up. But just both of these young quarterbacks in a position where they kind of need to get a win just for themselves. Again, it's not necessarily like a pressure situation for the teams. It is because they're 0-2. But again, big picture, nothing's going to fall apart if these teams go to 0-3. But both of these teams do need their guy to step up. So I think I do feel pretty good about Caleb Williams stepping up this week. And again, Anthony Richardson. We're the number one Anthony Richardson pod. But you go into Lambeau and you lose to Malik Willis, it's going to be, a strange relationship going from week 2 to week 3. So we're back on track. Make no mistake. We're watching highlights, getting ready for the game, remembering that, we're still all in, but it's still growing pains. We understand. So in a game where both quarterbacks kind of need to elevate, I think it'll be interesting to see which one ends up pulling through, because they're both like juggernaut sort of what if pieces for each conference. Again, maybe the AFC isn't as stacked as we kind of thought. We'll see, how the season plays out here. Again, maybe the Colts and Ravens are both 0-3, and the Colts are just as good as the Ravens. If you would have told me that going into the year, I would have said, hey, that sounds as good to that. Anthony Richardson and Lamar have the same record. That sounds good to me. But there is still a chance that even if these teams aren't playoff teams, they're going to be playing, you're going to have the Bears-Lions matchups, another Colts-Texans matchup. There's going to be chances for these teams to affect the playoff picture. So it would be nice to see Anthony Richardson complete 10 passes this week. Did he do? He definitely got it. I remember him seeing him at 11 at one point. Let's see what the watermark is for Anthony Richardson to beat this year. He had 9 in week 1, 17 for 34 in week 2. So upped his completion percentage from 47 to 50. Unfortunately, less yards and less touchdowns. So, and the Bears defense, like we said, no joke, but TJ Watt is on the horizon for next week, and I'm much more scared of TJ Watt than Montez Sweat. I mean, scared of Montez Sweat for sure, but TJ Watt is TJ Watt. And I think the Colts are going to get their first win of the year this week. Caleb Williams is still going to be figuring out how to read the Gus Bradley defense this week. Gus Bradley's just going to throw too much at him. He can't contain and can't quite prepare in 1 week for what Gus Bradley's been able to accomplish in a lifetime. But the next game that we've got on the schedule here, Chargers over Steelers. Will it be Russell Wilson? I don't know why it would be if Justin Fields is 2-0 And I don't know if we've got an official ruling on that as well, too. But I know there's some Herbert injury drama. High ankle sprain. Yikes, I saw the questionable. I didn't see the high ankle sprain. Was that ankle issues for Herbert last year as well? So is this now a lingering? Oh, geez. Are we reoccurring? Yikes, here we go. The Herbert injury saga. We're officially in the middle of it. Again, TJ Watt potentially wreaking havoc against a rookie in Joe Alt. It could get ugly. I was going to pick the Chargers. Harbaugh making the game ugly. J.K. Dobbins, they've got the best run game in the league so far. It's no mistake that Harbaugh's just been able to, literally right away, install his identity on the team. And you can see it, and it's working, and it's just incredible. And I miss it. Harbaugh, return to Michigan when it doesn't work out in Los Angeles, please. But I think we'll still go with the Chargers this week. Herbert, can you hand the ball off on a high ankle sprain? Just slide in the chat if you can hand the ball off on a high ankle sprain. The next game, as we hit the back nine here, Jags versus Bills. Again, Bills, I think, just if you look at drive-to-drive consistency, have been one of the better offenses, at least in the AFC. Allen, of course, is going to be a big reason for that. But the receiver thing has not necessarily been a big issue so far. And, a lot of that is, too, just, again, on like a third and short situation, Allen can get to, can just kind of pick up what he needs to with his legs. And now that we're talking this out, I wish we had some numbers on, like, third down scenarios. Let's see if we can do a little digging in the background quickly. Because, if you start getting into third and longs, then that's when you're going to start needing your receivers to make some plays down the field, especially some guys to start to get open. But if you're not putting yourself in that situation and you're in third and manageable, Josh Allen's able to pick up with his legs, and that can totally work. And I feel like that's kind of what's been happening so far. And again, outside of that first half against Arizona where they were moving the ball, they just fumbled a couple of times, which I'm sure will be a problem for the Bills this year. It's Josh Allen. It's James Cook. They have a history. But outside of the turnovers, they were still, and those turnovers were in Arizona territory. They were moving the ball. So their offense has been consistent all year, except the Jags are going to be desperate this week. And if there is ever a desperation, just this team needs a win. I mean, are the Jags going to be a 4-win team this year? Probably not, even if they're still not a playoff team. I could see, a desperate Jazz team, the Bills off to a nice 2-0 start, and the Jets and the Patriots, the kind of beat up on each other on Thursday. I guess the Jets took down the Patriots, but they have a loss. The Patriots have a loss. The Dolphins lost their quarterback. So the division is looking like it's in a nice spot for the Bills at this point. And I don't know if they're going to be fully committed. But they're 4.5 at home right now. And the public is 81% of the money on the Bills and 76% of the bets on Buffalo as well. So lock this in. I mean, if there's ever an upset that's going to happen, it's going to be this one. You guys are all fools. No, it's just, you need the people to bet. You need the fools to bet. So you can figure out where to go against. Jags, almost 2-1 on the money line. And again, we're talking desperation. Maybe we should have moved Trevor Lawrence up a little bit because, well, maybe he's not desperate. The man just got paid. Maybe that's part of it. But I think the Jags secure the win. And I honestly, after looking at some of the stats on where you guys are betting your money, I don't feel too bad about that pick anymore. I was feeling shaky about it because, again, I am buying a lot of Bill stock, or at least eyeing a lot of Bill stock. Maybe it's too late if we start going into week 3 and week 4 as a competitive team. Well, obviously a competitive team, but, as like are they back? Are they going to be in the AFC conference game again, AFC championship game again this year? But the last handful of games here are kind of the watching the box score games. I don't know if these games are going to get into the rotation on the TV at all. We've got Buccaneers versus Broncos. Obviously, we're picking the Bucs. I don't know if Bo Nix is going to... I don't know if Bo Nix is as desperate as the Jags and Trevor Lawrence, though. You know, Broncos fans certainly are. That's going to be the franchise quarterback, and I don't know if Sean Payton tricked him. I don't know if he's a wizard or if he was casting a spell on Broncos fans or what's going on, but maybe just signs of life is all that Broncos fans need from Bo Nix this week. Not necessarily win. So we'll go Tampa Bay over the Broncos. We've got Titans over Packers. The Malik Willis revenge game. Maybe this is the game where Will Levis can actually afford to make a bad mistake, because Malik Willis might even it out on the other side, and Will Levis also makes like a couple of nice plays a game too. Will Levis is the most chaotic quarterback in the league, but also in like, again, he will hit like a 50-yard touchdown and then come back and do the Wii bowling, ball flies out of your hand, pause, and just throw it backwards. So I think Will Levis is going to pick up a win this week. Malik Willis going on a win streak? I mean, the league would just totally fall apart. I think, you know, if there's enough signs that the world is ending, a Malik Willis win streak would definitely be one of them. Seahawks over the Dolphins. This would have been a fun game to pick if Tua was in. Not obviously because Tua and you get a full healthy Dolphins, but because I think this would have been a fun week to go, hey, I think the Seahawks might be 3-0. And with, again, the way that, and, you know, with all respect to Tua, and we hope the man gets back healthy, and we hope he's able to, you know, and he said he doesn't want to retire. Like, obviously, he, you know, the man was not going to retire, like me and Sam were talking about, even though maybe we would advise him to take that money, but he's not going to retire. Hopefully the man can play football again and not get concussed. But, knock on wood. But, pause. I mean, the Seahawks with the backup quarterback are looking fine this week. So, I think I would have picked him anyways. But definitely with, is it Skylar Thompson? Did they bring Tannehill back yet? I saw the blogs really clamoring for that one. Browns over Giants. Oh, man. Should we just skip this one? I put this one second to last, but as I say it out loud, I might want to make this last. I mean, Panthers over Raiders. It's going to be interesting to see what the Panthers... I don't know why I just said Panthers over Raiders. Panthers versus Raiders. Because I think the Raiders probably are going to take down the Andy Dalton-led Panthers this week. And it's going to be at least interesting to see what the Panthers supporting cast looks like. I mean, we kind of know. We saw this story already last year with Andy Dalton subbing in for Bryce Young. And we've seen the clips of Bryce Young, you know, having to, like, jump to throw the ball, and the clips of him walking into camp. And make no mistake, Bryce Young, keep your head up like LeBron. Like LeBron. I don't know if the LeBron tweet made it better or worse. But, I mean, what he's saying is not wrong. So, like we said, Bryce Young, the man will have a moment in the NFL at some point. We'll get the backup subbed in, win the game story, and maybe the man wins himself a starting job after that too. I don't know. I don't know where it goes from there, but we'll see. We'll see a return at some point. Maybe this week, if the Raiders start crushing Andy Dalton, and we get some. Do they put Bryce Young back in for garbage time if the game gets bad? I don't know what happens, but the Raiders are 6.5-point favorites right now. Vegas is either really impressed with them or just really out on the Panthers. Maybe a little bit of both. Gardner Minshew leads the league in, I think, either attempts or completions, maybe both. 70%, I believe, completion percentage as well. Oh, yeah, completion percentage and completion, 77.5. I don't know. Is that going to be all-time record for Gardner Minshew? Are we going to start talking about Gardner Minshew as the new Drew Brees? Should Sean Payton have gone out and gotten Gardner Minshew instead of Bo Nix? That's what Broncos fans are going to be asking themselves by, you know, halfway through the season. But the man's checking it down, and it's working. And Max Crosby is making a couple plays on defense. And I think that's about all it's going to take down the Panthers this week. So we'll take the Raiders, and Oh. Oh, we didn't pick the Bengals Commanders game. Let's go. We're just finding more games to pick before we talk about this Giants Browns game. Let me take one quick scan through. Commanders versus Bengals. Again, my heart, I want to pick Jaden Daniels. I want to pick the Commanders to get a win. I know they picked up their first win of the season last week against the Giants, so I guess they don't really need one. The Bengals at 0-2 definitely do, and Joe Burrow, they still look good against the Chiefs. You know, they get the call. The refs, they want Taylor Swift to be happy. They're going to make sure that the Chiefs win the game in Kansas City. But now that the Bengals are free of that, maybe they're actually able to, the defense is actually able to hold up at the end of games. But again, Jaden McDaniels, if we're talking about checking it down, it's working for the Commanders. And getting the ball out quick, it's definitely going to benefit him against Trey Hendrickson and this Bengals front. Is this at home for the Commanders? Oh, it's on the road. Yeah, Jaden Daniels. He's not going to go on the road and beat Burrow. I really wanted to, we're on the Jaden Daniels hype train. It's looking like it could shape into a fun season for Washington. Shocker. Again, the league. What is happening? Things you never would have thought you would say about the league. Washington is going to be fun to watch. So, yeah, I guess Cincinnati over Commanders. We feel pretty confident. Cincinnati, 7.5 right now. Again, the public loves Cincinnati, so maybe that's another one to keep an eye on. You fools. But do we pick some WNBA games? The WNBA playoffs also start Sunday. Do we pick those games before we get to those Browns-Giants game? I think we might just leave this one unpicked. They don't really deserve to pick a winner. They just some games just, I guess you can't cancel a game, but can't cancel a TV. I don't know how you black out a game for the nation, but that might be the one. Browns Giants, Deshaun Watson versus Daniel Jones. Nobody wants to see it. Bury it in the algorithm. YouTube, you're good at burying things in the algorithm. Bury the Giants Browns game, so just nobody can see it on a YouTube TV. Did we make it through to the rerun? Oh yeah, we're cruising through this Future album for a second time again. And it's not going to be the last, make no mistake. We can't give you like a favorite song because we were making the picks. But the consistency, and then it seemed like there was a little bit, some melodic Future in the B side of this album. So I don't want to say too much because it was just on in the background, but it seems like Future might have dropped a really, really solid project here in Mixtape Pluto. Can we get some? I guess we can look up the reaction now that we've started listening to it. We can get the spoiler alert. Can we go? Let's go to see if, is it trending on X? I feel like, well, it would have dropped overnight last night. So, oh, right. I forgot about the Nebraska-Illinois game. Raiola. Let's get an update. Third quarter, 17-10. Raiola, 17-25. 185 yards. Not bad. Only one more score, though, since we've last turned off the stream. But Future, not trending. Hawk Tua still trending in entertainment. Did she do another interview or something? She back in the mix somehow? If she would have done an interview, it would have been in our feed. The algorithm knows. Defeat his Hawk Tua chick. But Mixtape Pluto. What are the people saying? For the OG Future fans. Oh, that's not a good face. Oh, is there some Drake stuff in this as well, too? Yeah, true. We're going to actually have to listen and see if he's saying this. It all seems pretty positive so far. Seems like everybody's loving Mixtape Future, Mixtape Pluto. Doesn't seem like we're alone. Let's see if the critics have anything to say about it. I don't know if anybody's reviewed it this soon. Did we get a Rotten Tomatoes score for the Future album? What do we want the Rotten Tomatoes for music to be called? What vegetable? Can we say what fruit? Future at his best? Whoa, that seems like a... Seems like high praise. I'm not against it. Getting the best Future album in 2024? Let's do it. Again, even from the critics, though, seems like everything is positive so far. And again, Future, I mean, if Future's going to get positive reviews on the album I Never Liked You, then Mixtape Pluto's got a good shot. And I actually kind of liked that album a little bit more than most. And, you know, it's just the songs, the good songs off it. I haven't, like, replayed the full album. Again, just the songs, but doesn't look like we have the Metacritic rating on it yet. So we'll keep an eye out on some of the reviews, some of the scores, and see what this Mixtape Pluto ends up scoring it. But maybe we'll do like a top 5. Stay tuned to the YouTube. Stay tuned to the Instagram at Rem and Sam, the TikTok as well too, at Rem and Sam Podcast. We're going to be at Rem and Sam or at Rem and Sam Podcast on basically any social platform that I mentioned, as well as the podcast feeds, Spotify and Apple. So make sure to lock onto there. We'll do some more further reviews of the Future stuff. We'll do... and, you know, people are, I guess, maybe we'll have to go back and give I Never Liked You another shot as well, too. But we'll do some further reviews on the Mixtape Pluto. On the Lil Tecca album as well, too. I want to get a Sam review of the Lil Tecca album. Stay tuned for that. Do we get Sam to review that Lil Peep album? We'll see what he wants to listen to. Lil Xan? I'm not sure, but... It's about to hit the fourth quarter of this Nebraska-Illinois game. Should we lock back onto this stream real quick? We're going to lose the album. If Royola starts missing completions, we're throwing Future back on. Big as the what? Big as the Friday night college football game? Big as Friday Night Lights? Is YouTube going to take us? Now we're playing other people's ads? Our bad, IT. We don't want to give them the space. Fourth quarter might have already started as well. Okay, Illinois has the ball. Did Illinois just score? Do we have a tie ball game going into the fourth quarter? A minute 55 left in the third. Illinois has just tied it up. Okay, we'll stay on till the end of the third. And then we'll go watch the fourth quarter. But like I said, this is not it for the weekend. I think we'll probably hop on at some point for the Michigan game, because that game we can actually stream without interruptions just fine. So Michigan USC, a high profile matchup, a new era of the Big Ten. Sharon Moore, hopefully tears of joy after the game and not tears of sadness. We may be encountering stream issues. Yeah, we might actually have to go watch this one on the TV. I don't know if the stream is going to be able to hold up in the background. Maybe they need IT. For once, our IT is better than this IT. And they actually were able to pull through a whole episode. The stream, it's working fine. The new computer, people, we are cooking right now. So like I am saying, this is not the end of just for this weekend. Just in general, the more streams are on the way. More watch parties, more listening parties, more hanging out, having a good time. Maybe more future. Who knows? The man keeps cooking up good stuff, and it doesn't seem like he's stopping anytime soon. So, instant reactions for a background it's for an album to make picks to. It's a 10 out of 10, but we'll go ahead and give it a further listen, a deep dive, and get back to you people. But thank you guys for jumping on the stream, for hanging out, for making some picks, for listening to the album. I don't know if just having it on in the background is the way to do it in the future. You know, again, one person, maybe it's a little different. Shout out to the people on Spotify and Apple. You know, we still don't want to just totally leave them hanging. But if we do another listening party with Sam in the future, which I'm sure we will, and maybe we'll just listen to the little Tekka one later. I'm sure Sam will be locked into it. But maybe we'll mix it up, do it a little differently. But I like how it worked tonight. I like how we pulled it off. I like how it all ended up coming together. Pause. So thank you guys again, like I said, for jumping on the stream, for following the feeds, for staying tuned to the pages. And we will be back tomorrow, Sunday. Stay tuned. Who knows? We will be around. So thank you guys for hanging out.